Gracias por estar en M2 y como les decíamos la semana pasada, Ivette Salgado, hay tanto material, hay tantas entrevistas. ¿Empezamos con tu encuentro con La Roca?
Exacto. Fue increíble ver cómo está él después de todo lo que ocurrió en Venecia, después de esos 15 minutos y medio de ovación, y cómo es que se va perfilando rumbo a posiblemente las premiaciones. ¿Lo ves ahí?
Sí, yo creo que esto está diseñado para eso en muchos sentidos, pero claro, también después de platicar con él, tanto tú como la oportunidad que tuvimos de estar con él en un evento platicando, se nota que sí significa algo muy profundo para él. Entonces, claro, tiene los dos factores, vamos a ver.
Los dos factores, ¿te refieres a...?
El emocional, el auténtico, claro, y la campaña de vamos por el premio. Vamos por los premios.
Aunque eso, y te lo preguntaba por la siguiente situación, aunque eso represente sacrificar un poco su taquilla.
Ah, no,
porque,
total.
Oye, siento que el mundo le está reclamando, es que no tiene la misma taquilla que sus anteriores películas.
No por qué.
Es que esta es una película completamente distinta y cuando tengan la oportunidad de verla, verán justamente el tipo de personaje que está interpretando, que si bien es un luchador, toca matices muy profundos.
Adelante, Roca.
This character feels really different from anything that you have done before. So, how was for you to play someone like Mark, and what do you take away from him?
You know, it was exciting to play this part. To play Mark Kerr, exciting because he was a man who's alive today.
Yeah,
a real man, accomplished real things, had real demons in his life that he had to battle, and my takeaway. And we all want to win at life and want to win things, but that's not the way life works. You know, we get knocked down and we lose, and how we deal with those losses, I think, really define us. And so I learned so much.
And also I think that Mark is not fighting to win. He's fighting to find himself again. So
that's right. That's right.
What do you think about that battle?
I love that. You're absolutely right. Because you think on the surface, he's just fighting to win, win the money. But then you realize, oh, no. Oh, you're fighting to understand. You're fighting to understand what it's like to love yourself.
This was a huge moment for everyone. What did it mean to you in a personal or professional level? Because everybody was crazy talking about your performance.
It was pretty wild. Venice, us debuting Smash Machine at the Venice Film Festival was just, it told me that the decision I made of listening to the voice behind my rib cage, that I can do more, and to challenge myself. That ovation and looking at every single person's eyes, like that's another thing too. When they were like clapping, it's not a casual, you know, they're kind of looking around. They want to look at you and they want to clap and look at you and give you this energy. So that moved me so much, and I think it just told me that, hey, thank you for listening to your voice, and it was the best thing you could have done.
Ay, les platicaba el otro día que la primera vez que lo entrevisté fue por ahí del 2004, cuando fue el Rey Escorpión.
Okay.
Y todavía me hablaba de la lucha libre, de su transición al cine. Entonces, verlo no es lo mismo el UFC o el Pride, que no tiene nada que ver con lo que conocemos como Pride, son las peleas en Japón. Pero también fue una de las cintas de las que más se habló y de las que más hubo controversia en el circuito de festivales. ¿Cuál es? Y cuéntamelo.
Sí, se llama After the Hunt, es la película protagonizada por Julia Roberts y Andrew Garfield, que pone sobre la mesa justamente el tema del abuso sexual en una universidad, particularmente en Yale. Y lo que ocurre con el personaje de Julia y por lo que la cuestionaban en Venecia es porque de alguna forma, sin spoiler, los personajes son sometidos a dilemas morales sobre lo que dicen o sobre lo que callan.
Okay.
Y a partir de ahí viene el cuestionamiento de toda la película y justo por eso la cuestionaban en Venecia y justo por eso ella defendía la historia diciendo que esas son las preguntas que se tienen que poner sobre la mesa para ver de qué lado de la historia nos estamos identificando.
Wow. ¿Y qué te dijo el director?
Pues obviamente la intención es exponer estos temas de una forma cinematográfica y sobre todo socialmente para que pues podamos poner el punto sobre las IES
Así.
de lo que está pasando con este tema que comenzó con Me Too y con todo lo que ya sabemos, pero que no tiene que dejar de ponerse sobre las mesas de cualquier industria.
Vamos a ver.
Hank walked me home. He asked for a nightcap, which, it's fine. He's Hank. Everybody loves Hank.
What are you saying happened?
He crossed the line. But what
This movie is about a professor who faces a difficult situation when a student makes an assault allegation. Why was important for you, especially after Me Too, to show how hard it can be to speak up in places of power like a school?
I think that the idea of this very specific theater that is Yale, this scene, this scenery, carries with it the idea of how a small world can represent the greater world that we live into. And in a way, this for me, it's a sort of indication, direction, expression of the idea of the multiple possibilities of truth that lies within ourselves, and how it's important to find a way to listen to the other one truth instead of trying to impose your own.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, Alma is a philosophy professor, but she still faces her own contradictions. So what does her story say about the fact that even knowledge and experience are not always enough to handle real life ethical dilemmas?
Well, if you think of Shakespeare, power corrupts everything. The quest for power might corrupt the highest minds and the most brave hearts. And I think that's the case in the case of these people. They are really fighting over power, where actually, if they were not doing that, they could find the power of listening to one another. And maybe they face the consequences of this kind of need for prevailing over the other.
Yeah. So in many of your films, your characters face moments where ethics and responsibility clash with desire, fear, ambition, whatever. So what makes you want to explore these moral dilemmas, and why do you think it's important to explore them through cinema?
Because it's completely cinematic, Cinema allows us to really reflect on things, but through the lens of entertainment. And that's what I love.
What has you surprised the most about the reaction from the audiences?
I think I'm always surprised in a beautiful way by the generosity of audiences and how they really interact with movies.
And also looking at your work from Call Me By Your Name, or Bones and All, and now this movie, there's a clear interest in human connections under extreme situations. What role does cinema play in your life, and why is it so important to you?
I'm totally, completely, and absolutely a person that think in terms of cinema, loves cinema, wants cinema. And for me, cinema has always taught me how to react to something that gives me a great emotion, how to find things that I didn't know about, how to change my mind, how to fall in love.
Yeah. Did you always want to be a filmmaker as a kid, or when did you realize that cinema was
forever?
Going to
I
be
think
an important part of your
my
life?
mother bought me a Super 8 camera when I was like 8 or 9, and I started making my little mini movies. But I was so obsessive about it that I started to say in a sort of like unaware way that I wanted to be a director since I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah. And do you want to make something maybe related with Mexico or Latin America?
Well, I shot a movie called Queer that was a story set in a sort of like fantasy Mexico City that was at the projection of Barrows in Mexico City. And of course, it would be for me a thrill to be able to come actually in Mexico City and film something there. So like break a leg and fingers crossed.
Estamos en mi temporada favorita del año porque es cuando las películas, incluso las series con más contenido, con más carnita,
Exacto.
llegan a nosotros, ¿no? Y de verdad, está padrísimo las películas de verano y los superhéroes, pero aquí tenemos muchos grandes temas de conversación y seguiremos compartiéndolos con ustedes. Gracias, Iber.
Gracias, un gusto, Susi.
Gracias, equipo. Por aquí nos vemos pronto.